Welcome or welcome back. YouTube is the platform, Vintage Serp is the channel, Serp here is your host. The show is Listen, the episode 4. So, recently here in New York, we're seeing some different times going on. Obviously, the whole world's in love with your man Luigi. And we've got there's also the more serious situation with the verdict in the case of Daniel Penny for his actions on the subway train. Murdered the young King Jordan Neely on the train about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago now. Referred to the tagline at the start about my research. And what's striking here is, maybe my editor will pull it up too with the headline from the New York Post the day that Penny was convicted, let's dig into it here for a second. So, Jordan Neely, young brother, homeless at the time, regular subway performer. If you ride the trains in New York a lot, you've seen schizophrenic people, you've seen homeless people. If you check my Instagram page, I'm riding on the train with homeless niggas every morning. And I think that there's a certain level of conditioning that comes along with being in New York for a while and riding the train and knowing how to identify and either avoid the violent unhoused, or how to move around the unviolent disturbed ones who just need a place to rest, somewhere that's warm while they're sleeping off their heroin high, whatever the fuck they're doing, right? And the fact that this coward snuck up behind this man who weighed like $160 soaking wet and held on to him for 6 minutes while you had the crowd imploring him to stop. And then, post the murder of Jordan Neely, you have Penny. First of all, if my memory serves me right, Penny wasn't arrested right away. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Right? He wasn't arrested right away. He had to turn himself in. If I'm not, yeah, he turns himself in a few days later. Prior to that, the governor of New York, who took over for that sex pest Andrew Cuomo, she gets on the news talking about, there's consequences for all this rampant homelessness. And our current mayor, who's going through his own series of scandals, he gets on TV talking about, hey, let's not rush to judge, etc., or something to that effect. Again, I don't research, check the fucking timeline. If I got it wrong, let me know in the comments. After Neely's murder, there was, as happens a lot, right? There's this concerted effort to remind us that, hey, this guy was homeless. He's been arrested he has charges for whatever the fuck his charges were. And painting the victim as someone subhuman who was deserving of vigilante justice. Again, let's remember, this is vigilante justice. But Neely gets through. Neely is murdered. Penny goes on this trial, and his top charge was not second degree. He wasn't charged with murder. I know they dropped that before the sentencing phase. So ultimately, for taking this person's life, this Marine, this trained killer who pulled out his skills for the sake of murdering an innocent black man, was rewarded. And then we got pictures of him and his attorney celebrating, getting drinks later on that night. Now, while this is happening in God's simulation, um, we we hear all this news about Luigi Mangione being arrested and charged with this thing, and like I said before, like refer to my previous video where I said it's white people's business and I'm staying the fuck out of it. But what's interesting to me now that this person's been apprehended and they're claiming that he's the suspect, he allegedly possibly the murderer or whatever, we have all of this effort to humanize Luigi in a similar way that we humanized Daniel Penny. But the difference here, I don't see any vilification, or I don't see the extent of vilification of the victim in the media as much as we saw with Jordan Neely. I want to be very clear that I recognize a lot of the outpouring of support for Luigi is because healthcare in this country is a for-profit business. As such, they've got ways to make cuts and ways that impede and harm the people that they're supposed to be serving, right? And this young man's actions were what they were. Take your mind back, sharpen your recollection a little bit to 2020, when everybody was home and upset, and the murders of black men captured on recording launched a global protest in the midst of a global quarantine pandemic situation. Here we are within 4 years, and this the Daniel Penny verdict has gotten not even a peep. There's so much more attention being placed right now on what happened with what's his name, Brian Thompson. We're in the midst of people nationally feeling joy, elated, turned on, whatever the fuck, by Luigi and his struggle, and being able to empathize and identify with their own healthcare struggles and potential, their own self-radicalization. We are, again, ignoring the blatant murder and destruction of black life without consequences. This is the same New York City that pays out my editor to look up the number per year because of police brutality or police misconduct. Most of those cops don't get fired. As a matter of fact, one of the stories that that's endemic of the Klan mentality of the NYPD is the story of Marley Graham, who was murdered in his grandmother's apartment because some fucking punk cop, some shit, editor will find that shit anyway. This fucker ran into this kid's house because he thought he saw him with 2 bags of weed, shoots him in the belly while his brother's home and his grandmother's home in his grandmother's apartment in the Bronx. And when he's acquitted, actually, I believe he quit the force before the verdict of the trial came out. But there were seas of officers just clapping and applauding this murderous motherfucker for getting away with the things that he did. And this is the NYPD that we have. We have a department who's even under the stewardship of a black mayor. We got so many black officials filling in spaces, etc. We're still looking at a New York City which defines its stance on crime and punishment on how hard we come down on black men. Make sure those niggas, stay in their place and don't get too uppity, right? We could talk about
Akai
we could
Gurley.
talk about Eric Gardner. We could talk about Abner Louima. We could talk about Amadou Diallo. But New York's got a filthy history of this sort of behavior especially with black men. And with this election coming, and just the resurgence of a lot of white power propaganda, because ultimately that's what 45's in office for, is to establish and make sure that white men stay on top. We are in for, and I think we're about to approach another, I don't want to say Giuliani era, but it's going to get nasty out here. So at the end of the day, you've got these two crimes which are both caught on camera, where the perpetrator was eventually detained in both situations. But in one instance, we have the total vilification of the victim and the justification of their death. And on the other hand, you have the romanticization of the perpetrator and no discussion, or I mean, there is a discussion, debate, etc. But I mean, let's be real. These news outlets and politicians, they're not going to shit on the medical industry because they sponsor a lot of their programs, you know. So, um, do I think we're going to start seeing a bunch of CEO deaths now? No. Would I prefer to see the? Would I prefer to see the murder the of of people who make their money at the plight of the underclass more than I would like to see the murder of nigga fuck kill 10 billionaires. I'll give you some of the groups that you could go behind too. But I don't think this is going to lead to any massive overhaul or change or benefit to anybody. I think at the end of the day, companies are going to start protecting their CEOs more, and your prices are going to keep doing what the fuck they do. Um, and because white supremacy is based on profit and profitability, there's going to be no changes with healthcare as a result of this. So everybody that's rooting for the Luigi and oh my God, free Luigi, I want to pay his bills, is the same type of motherfuckers that was infatuated with Ted Bundy. It's the same kind of people that fell in love with Evan Peterson's performance. Peters, the kid that was not Flash. What's that nigga name? Quicksilver. Quicksilver as Jeffrey Dahmer. The same people that were infatuated by Quicksilver playing Jeffrey Dahmer are the same people that are infatuated with Luigi now. You know, in the early days of YouTube, I was in college when that shit dropped. I'm a fucking dinosaur. 80s baby. 80 baby, excuse me. Um, there were a lot of death videos. There's a bunch of death videos and shit like, um, oh fuck, I forgot what the name of the links and shit were. But my initial introduction to videos on the internet were mostly murder videos. Then obviously YouTube evolved past that, created community guidelines, etc. After they got the platform buzzing, so now it's spread out. But now we back to being able to witness death if we wanted to on the internet. Um, it's nasty. It's nasty work. We're gonna see a lot more instances of emboldened white rage, of white rage that feels justified for whatever reason because of the tenor of the country. Remember, as I said just now, this is all a white supremacist haven that we live in that was created, right? And the Daniel Pennies and the um, Luigi Mangione's, even to a certain extent, the white comedians who talk about sexually assaulting rappers. It's a boldness in this class of Cretan that we're seeing now that I think they're feeling comfortable coming out with these emotions and feelings. So stay aware, look out. Um, Again, New York, we can. It's easier to get a gun now more than ever. Please train yourself in the art of self-defense. Go shooting, all that shit. Learn how to use it if you do have it, and then keep your eyes open. Because you're gonna know, these white supremacist cowards, they're never gonna come to your face, right? They're always gonna come, either catch you while you're asleep, like that psychopath was doing when he was murdering the homeless people, or they're gonna try to catch you from behind, like Daniel Penny did when he silenced Jordan Neely and choked him out with a maneuver that he knew would have caused his death for 6 minutes. And if y'all are murdering CEOs out there, Elon Musk got $400 billion. Not saying y'all should do anything. I'm just pointing things out. Also consider that if you are so inclined, for whatever, like record company execs who popularized the drill wave, which was the source of so much Black Death, they make billions of dollars as well. Look into some of them. Who's in charge of these things? All right, I think that's the episode. Rest in power, Jordan Neely. Peace, blessings, and condolences to your family. Everybody, love on each other. Take care, and don't. And now more than ever, be vigilant and pay attention to the shit that's going on out here, because it's going to get sticky and nasty again. But keep your eyes open. Don't fall for the okie doke. Don't let the media tell you how to feel. Not even me. Like, if you come in here for me to tell you how to feel, God bless. Let me know what y'all think of this more political content that I got. Hopefully, it's a little heavier for me to get through. I have too many jokes to spare these people's expenses. My editor is going to be chopping this shit up a lot because, I don't want to get shot or sued. But, yeah, I still know how to fucking end this shit.